Welcome to Direct Approach, a bi-weekly podcast hosted by Wayne Moorhead, where direct selling executives can gain timely insights, fresh perspectives, and actionable takeaways crafted to fuel the growth and evolution of your business. In this episode, we explore the groundbreaking victorious ruling shaping the future of direct selling. Co-CEOs of Neora, Jeff Olson and Deborah Heisz, share invaluable insights and hard-won lessons for leaders navigating critical changes. Offering a comprehensive overview of the challenges faced, the strategic decisions made, and the valuable lessons derived, serving as a guiding framework and what many are calling a blueprint in an industry undergoing massive transformation. With a focus on real-world experiences and practical insights, Jeff and Deborah's perspectives offer valuable guidance for industry leaders looking to enhance their business models, adapt to regulatory changes, and prioritize customer-centric approaches. But before we dive into the episode, please hear a word from our sponsor, Exego. Exego was started by a team of experts that shared a single vision: to overturn the archaic, restrictive model of housing data and create an entirely new kind of platform from the ground up. From your first dollar to your billionth and beyond, Exego's platform scales in lockstep with your global growth, aspirations, and vision. With clients in 120 countries, supporting 40 currencies and 30 languages, plus over 200 open APIs and SDKs, they empower an existing tech team to control their own best-in-class solution vision. To connect and learn more, visit exego.com. That is EXIGO.com. Now please help me welcome your host, Wayne Moorhead, and today's guests, co-CEOs of Neora, Jeff Olson and Deborah Heisz.
Hello and welcome to another episode of DSN's Direct Approach podcast. As always, I'm your host, Wayne Moorhead. And today is a special episode where we get to dive deep on an issue that has been one of the most important and impactful for the entire direct selling channel over the last several years. I have the honor of being joined by two well-known figures that prevailed in a landmark case with the FTC, where they successfully defended their company, but in many ways and in many respects, were defending our entire business model. Jeff, first, I'll introduce him as an absolute legend in direct selling. He's founded and led multiple successful companies, and he's been a mentor to so many of us over the years through his not only leading at corporate, but his speaking, his writing, and all the incredible content that he puts out. Deborah is an incredible executive whose leadership and impact during this tumultuous time cannot be overstated. I've been fortunate to work and interact with both of them, and even more fortunate to be able to call them friends. So please let me welcome Jeff Olson, founder and CEO of Neora, and Deborah Heisz, co-CEO of Neora. Jeff and Deb, thank you so much for being here.
Such a pleasure, Wayne. Thanks for having us on today.
We enjoy it, Wayne. We appreciate everything you do. This podcast is really good for the industry, so I appreciate what you do.
Appreciate it. Just love getting to speak to people like you. I will do a quick caveat to the audience. Kind of all of us are just getting over colds pretty much. So you may hear some cough drops rattling around or quick taking sips of water or something like that. But we didn't want to miss this opportunity to all get together and chat. So let's go ahead and really kind of dig right in. So most of us are familiar with the broad strokes of the case, but for those that aren't, Deborah, do you mind taking just a minute and giving us kind of a brief overview of the genesis of this and where we are today? And Jeff, again, please jump in as well.
Yeah, no problem, Wayne. So when I started with Neora back in 2016, I started in April of 2016. The company had been founded by Jeff and Amber and Renee, and they were thriving. And, I was honored to be able to come on board and help grow what was a company that was really based in what I thought were genuinely good principles, and had a great business model, advantageous for consumers, advantageous for people who wanted to be sellers. We call our distributors brand partners. The brand partners had a great opportunity. We had a lot of sales, high quality products, sales to people outside the comp plan. I really couldn't have been more thrilled. I felt like I was stepping into, the best opportunity I could have stepped into. And 2 months later, the FTC knocked on the door with a confidential investigative command, what we call a CID. And, it was based off of, really, I think the genesis of it was, some distributor claims that had been made about one of our products. And then, our fabulous friends over at Tina had posted some things online. And it was really founded in, some complaints that, frankly, at that point, we'd cleaned up. We'd already addressed the issue. It was based on one of our products. So our attitude was, well, let's just give them everything they want to see, because we knew we were operating a company not only within the guidelines that had been put out by the FTC, but well within the guidelines that had been put out by the FTC. And we really weren't concerned. So even though they showed up and we had to spend time and energy, doing 16 different document productions and meeting with them and engaging a legal staff and legal team to support us, we really felt like the end of this is going to be, hey, watch what people say, make sure that your distributors are in line, but go on and I guess we were a little naive. Go on and run your business. We were a little naive because ultimately what happened is through that process we discovered that what the FTC wanted to do was change our business model, and not just our business model. They were really interested only in settling if we came up with what we call the Advocare solution, which for those of you who aren't familiar with that, Advocare with the FTC collapsed to where they were no longer to pay anybody but the person making the sale for anything. So basically got rid of the multi-level out of multi-level marketing. So the FTC was only interested in settling for that. And when we realized that, and we met with commissioners and we realized that was the only thing they were going to settle for, we made the decision that was wrong, that was not within the guidelines of the law. It wasn't legal to force us to go there. And we felt like the FTC was trying to change the law through settlement agreements. So we made the decision, Jeff made the decision, the incredibly brave, bold, and courageous decision to sue them. So we sued them not unexpectedly, they sued us right back. And we ended up in what resulted in ultimately a case that went to court here in Texas. So they sued us in New Jersey, we sued them in Chicago, we ended up in Texas. We went to court, proceeded all the way through trial, and at the end, we were vindicated. There were 5 counts in the case. We were exonerated on all 5 counts. The opinion is rife with words like no evidence and theoretical, as opposed to being attachment to the law. And it was an expensive and arduous fight. Obviously, when you sue by the FTC, it's not a small thing. When you sue the FTC, it's not a small thing. For that to have been public for the last 4 years, and it took us 10 months after the trial ended for us to actually get an opinion. So this opinion just came out in September. It felt amazing to have been exonerated, and for us to be able to share with the world what we already knew, which is that we were running a good business, good fundamentals, well within the law, that provided a good opportunity and great products to consumers and brand partners. So that's a little bit of an overview, maybe more than you want, but ultimately it's consumed my entire career here at Neora, and I'm so excited to have it done. And we are so ready to just go grow. We're so excited about where we are right now. Jeff, did you want to add anything?
I think you said it very, very well. For everybody listening in, can you imagine? We produce over 6 million documents. Every single email between us and the field, every single compliance email, every email between us as managers. So imagine if a government who really doesn't want to settle with you, who really wants to destroy you, can see everything. And we withstood that. They had everything. We had nothing. It was all, when you read the rule, what's amazing about this, when you read the ruling, which is a very detailed ruling, which went way beyond what you had to do in the ruling, to establish this very solid case law that will withstand the test of time. When you see the ruling, the fact is the government knew all those facts about 5.5 years ago. We produced all the data, and they just kept going. They didn't care. They actually said to us, our head economist said, the facts don't matter. We can tell your pyramid when we see it. And so that's what you're up against. And so when you face off with the federal government, it is not a fair fight, and they don't play very fairly at all. Okay, and that's why you have to have your ducks in orders. And it really, at the end of the day, why we were able to do this, and Deb spoke to it, is we have real customers, people who've never touched our business model, and they couldn't get past that. Oh, they tried to ignore it, deny it. They literally looked at our 80% customers who've never seen touched our comp plan and just said that's not true. And so, you just have to go through that process with them. And so it was the facts that stood up for us, and that's why the ruling is so strong.
Yeah, that is one of the most incredible aspects of this, and I think one of the most important, and Deb touched on it, but also one of the absolute coolest kind of baller moves was the fact that you kind of preempted. You knew it was coming down the pike a little bit and preempted and made the decision to sue the FTC because you were so confident in how you structured and operated the company and the comp plan. Jeff, can you talk a little bit about kind of that thought process, that decision process, and saying, look, we have to go on the offense here and not play defense?
Yeah, we negotiated with them for 3 years. We spent a few $1 million hiring the economist, Dr. Vandella. He's an econometrician, way above economist, who formerly used to head up the economic bureau of the FTC. Okay, so using their own person who they have huge respect for. We paid millions of dollars for him to go through our data individually. And he said to the FTC in DC, when he went to visit them, not only are they not a pyramid, they're not even close to a pyramid. Okay. But it didn't matter. They just kept on. They had like 13 things they wanted us to do. And Deb and I, we really went through them, all of them. And we were able to really agree with most of them because our model was not really a model that was moving. Like 4% of our volume was PACs. We was 80% of our people are customers outside the business model. And we were comfortable in our model, but they didn't want to solve it. Like Deb said, they wanted to collapse us down to multi-level out. Another thing they wanted us to do is not pay any commissions to purchases by brand partners. Now, we could survive that because that'd probably reduce our top line by 10% because that's how our business model works, but that would destroy the industry. When we're looking down the barrel of those two things, to take the multi-level out and that, it was way bigger than us because they just mowed through Avocare, and they had momentum, and we knew through the process they were looking at other companies. There's other companies right now who are under investigation. We made a decision to sue them, and the smart thing that was one of the smartest things we did because we got prepared for it. Not just the lawsuit. We put our wiki together with all the Q&As. We put our videos together. We had conference calls with our leaders all the way down to our entire field with our lawyer. We explained everything in detail. We put all the documents up in the back office. And we said, we're doing this. And my opening line was, I love this country. I'm a patriot, but this is a country of laws and nobody's above the law, including the government. And so we were able to get our people behind us, okay, as this is a fight. Now, of course, we lost brand partners because, who wants to, the FTC scares you, okay? But the fact is the good ones rallied behind us. And I think one of the best things we did is we leaned into our community. We leaned into our culture. We leaned into our relationship with our leaders, and we were transparent with them. And because of that, many of them stayed loyal with us, which allowed us to continue on the fight.
You guys did an amazing job of managing the communications and the energy and the culture internally, meaning there at corporate, but also in the field. Can you expand on that a little bit? On how you manage the field during this tumultuous time? How did you kind of manage their perceptions, keep them engaged and focused on building the business and not get too caught up in everything going on there at corporate?
Well, we have a very transparent relationship with our field, particularly our field leaders, and we always have. So the ability for us to share the ability for us to share what was going on and the trust that we have between those two groups was critical. And that trust wasn't built when the lawsuit was filed. That trust was built over years of us being transparent as you can be. Obviously, you're running a company and not everybody needs to know everything, but as transparent as we could be and backing up what we said. So if we said we were going to do something, we did it. If the field wanted something and we weren't going to do it, we shared with them why we weren't going to do it. We were incredibly transparent. So when we made the decision to sue the FTC, the day we sued them, we called all of our field together for a conference call, and the lawyers and myself and Jeff spoke to the field. We told them, we were suing the FTC. We told them why we were suing the FTC. We told them what the FTC had asked of us, which was to quit paying multi-level compensation, and that we weren't going to agree to it because we weren't going to take their businesses away. And so we immediately told them the truth, and they believed it because we had built up that trust. And as a result, they understood we were doing this for them. And it became they were so behind us, it was unreal. Yes, there was a little bit of fear. I mean, who wasn't scared of being sued by the government or losing your business because the government's suing you? But their confidence in us and the fact that we were doing it for the right reasons was critical. So after that initial meeting, though, it was also very important to not have that consume every dialogue. We told them we would keep them updated and as necessary, but we weren't going to talk about it every week. So we spent a few meetings there right at the beginning, letting them know. We told them it was a long process. We told them we wouldn't know anything probably for years. We also told them, so we sued the FTC, expect the FTC to sue us back, which of course happened. So we laid the groundwork for this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. There's not going to be updates to give you all the time. And we got back to business. We launched new products. We continued to operate the business for them in the way we had in the past. And their belief allowed them to move on. The one dip we really saw, and this won't surprise anybody, it's very difficult to recruit people into a business. If the first thing you see when you search it is FTC accusing Neora of being a pyramid scheme, if that's the first thing you see when you search, it's very difficult to recruit new business builders. But we still did, and we have some people that came in during that are some of our top leaders today. But it was harder for them to recruit. The good news is, in our model, you can lean into customer sales. And customers don't go search that. You don't go look up a company because you like a product. You don't go find out what's going on. They bought the products because they saw before and after pictures, because their friend recommended it, because they knew people who were using it. So our consumer sales continued to grow, even though our recruiting really dropped substantially. But the rest of our business was very healthy. And our brand partners stayed with us because so much of their money comes from customer sales, not from bringing in other brand partners. It comes from actual sales of product. So they stayed with us, and they believed in what we were doing, and it really kind of became a rallying cry for the field. I mean, they were would your company be strong enough to take on the government? Does your company believe in you enough that they're going to put their money into fighting for you? And so the ones who really got that, which is the majority of our field, not only stayed with us, but they thrived, and they're excited about where we are right now.
Yeah, to both of you, watching, from the outside, it was an incredible masterclass of how to manage a field, how to manage, crises and times of challenge. And I think we were all so impressed in the way that you were able to, as you kind of just mentioned, redirect the fear and kind of channel it into and transform it into pride and this fighting spirit and this culture of coming closer together. Again, many companies would have probably run and hid and tried to stay as absolutely quiet as possible. And you turned it into this incredible rallying cry and something that brought the field and your corporate team there so much closer together. You talked about the importance of customers and how that played into ultimately, the decision in this case. Jeff, can you talk a little more about the importance of having strong customer acquisition, especially kind of in this time during this kind of changing direct selling landscape?
When we launched this company, we saw our competition as the e-commerce world, not other direct sales companies, just e-commerce. And to survive there, you have to have products that can stand on their own without a business model attached to them. It's that simple. So we vested heavily in our products through research, working with top universities, top scientists, formulators. If you look at our cost of goods in our financial statement, it will be significantly higher than most direct sales companies. And so we really focus on products that people would buy without a business model attached to it. And that's what set us apart. And actually, it was that allowed us to fight, just as Deb said, because we had real customers. I just read a research article. It says we're going to grow as an industry from $200 billion to $330 billion in the next 6 years. That's what they're predicting. And they say it's been driven, and it's the key word, by consumer demand. It didn't say it's being driven by comp plans, okay? Consumer demand, and it goes on to say consumers wanting to engage with the products before they make a purchase. That's exactly what the direct sales industry does that the e-commerce companies can't do. We can bring the human element to a product up front before the purchase, okay? And so we just leaned into that. And they also went on to say that it's going to be also driven by people wanting part of micro entrepreneurs. I just heard somebody say people want to do parallel incomes. It's kind of like, a person wants to step in and out of a model to make some money, okay? They don't want to get in and pay a bunch of fees and have to start playing comp plan games. 90% of our field is not even driving a structure. They're just driving volume. That's how we're built. It's really amazing. The company we launched 12 years ago is totally in alignment where the market's gone to. And what's really more amazing, this ruling supports that. This ruling basically says you got to have real customers. This ruling validated that. Take the lawsuit away, you now as a company better become an e-commerce direct-to-consumer platform driven by valuable products with people who do not care about your comp plan. You better have entry into your business where people can just sell your products and do nothing else and make $500,000 and come and go as they want, okay? And eventually, if they want to drift into the back end of your comp plan, i.e. the direct sales side, that can happen. So, that's what's going to drive this growth. Think about it. The industry has been around tens and tens and tens of years, okay? It took them, decades to get to 100 to 200 billion, and they're going to go to 330 in 6 years, but it's not going to be driven by the model we were. Who the industry was is not what the industry needs to be. New generation does not want to be a part of that at all. But if you have quality products that they can sell, and they can make some extra money while they're going to school or college or whatever they want to do, create a parallel income, they're excited about it, okay? Especially you see they can see the products, and they see you have a culture and community. And what that does here, Wayne, this is real important. All of our distributors have a book of business. Just like an insurance agent. See, we have people we sold our night cream to 12 years ago who bought that night cream now for 12 straight years. That's 144 times. And the person who made that sales got paid every single time. So what happens with our people, you can come in and start making some money selling our product, but because of the value of the product and because we are an e-commerce direct-to-consumer model, and because we do market to the customer afterwards and continue, give them, we look like an e-commerce platform, you start building a book of business where your income's predictable. So even take our top distributors who have all these people out there who are customer gatherers, when they go into a month, most of their income is predicted because they got a book of business. For everybody out there, I just recommend that you really take a hard look at that, okay? Because number one, you need that to fight the government if they ever come knocking on your door. But number two, it's where the marketplace is going anyhow, okay? So this case law is in alignment with what the market forces are telling us to do right now.
That's amazing. Thank you. There's so much that in what you just said, and I want to circle back on a couple aspects of it. One around the customer acquisition standpoint. Obviously, that hasn't always been one of the strengths of the direct selling channel. Was that a skill set from kind of a customer acquisition e-commerce perspective? Was that a skill set that you had to bring in-house? Was it something that you kind of cultivated and developed there? How did you approach the customer acquisition standpoint? Or is that something that it's through kind of training the field to really focus on that?
So our model, the majority of our brand partners are even our top leaders, the vast majority, this is the first time they've ever had a direct selling experience, or the first time they've ever really had a direct selling experience. I mean, I think all of us kind of go through life and go, oh yeah, that was direct selling. So they actually, in a lot of ways, saw our model, saw our commission plan, saw how it worked, and very quickly determined that the best way to grow a business was to get a lot of customers, which is the way the model was built. So our compensation model incentivized that. So they came to us that way. These are people that love to share the products, that love, our top ranked distributor, lifetime ranked brand partner. She got in because she loved the products. She didn't want to tell her husband how much they cost. And we have a program where if you get 3 customers, you get your product free. So she held a party at her house, and somebody else, one of her best friends, wanted to sign up as a brand partner as well. And she was like, I don't want to do that. And she today is our top ranked leader. All she was doing was sharing products so she could get her products free. That's what she cared about. And so many of our leaders and so many of the people throughout our structure, sharing products is what they do and learn first. So it was really more taking those people and teaching them the advantages of also building a business. And a lot of that was organic. That's just our comp plan drew those people to us. They love the products, and that's why they're here. So it's a little bit of an opposite dynamic than a lot of companies may have right now.
The other thing we did, Wayne, is we like I said earlier, we're competing with e-commerce platforms. We have customer referral programs where customers refer customers and they get benefits from it. We have one thing where every time you get a customer sale, you get $10, okay, and they get $10 on the next, or 10% I should say, on the next sale. We have New York cash back. We send our customers birthday gifts. All the things you would do if you're trying to be a thriving e-commerce platform. And so you got to have the product, you got to have the marketing systems, you have to have the training and communication around it, all those things you have to do, but you also have to become it, okay? Become a direct-to-consumer e-commerce company. And again, it's actually not only the right thing to do, that it is the right thing to do, especially now with this case law, it's the smart thing to do, because that's where the market's at. And I think most people in the industry are just kind of tired of chasing their tail all the time versus building a book of business. Can you imagine when you're top of a company like this, or you build a large organization, and that 80% of your business is stable. It's just, these are customers who are buying products because they like products. And so, so we're constantly trying to build our e-commerce platform better. Matter of fact, we have about 25 action items working on right now. I think about 12 or 13 of them are just how we even make our platform even better and more competitive.
Have you registered for the DSN 20th Anniversary Spring Celebration event happening Tuesday, April 2nd through Thursday, April 4th at the Irving Convention Center in Irving, Texas? Join 500 industry executives representing more than 150 direct selling companies, all coming together to learn from a powerhouse lineup of 30 plus executive leaders, experts, and industry titans. We invite you to be a part of the conversations and network with the best while gaining invaluable knowledge to drive your business forward. It's a 2.5-day TED-style direct selling masterclass with access to exclusive AI workshops and roundtables, a star-studded dinner, award ceremony, and live music with the Free Radicals Band at the DSN Global Celebration, informative discussions, game-changing insights, and premium networking. And we're going to be tackling topics like AI efficiency maximization, strong and compliant business practices, effective affiliate marketing and compensation strategies, enhancing the Hispanic and Latino market, global expansion strategies, and so much more. Learn from executive leadership at companies like LifeWave, PM International, Norwex, Immunotech, Optavia, Red Aspen, Family First Life, It Works, Neora, Scout and Seller, Amway, OmniLife, and a very special keynote presentation by Jason Dorsey. Plus, you'll also hear from more than 10 iconic leadership legacies of the industry, and our special Icon Speak features only at the 20th anniversary event. Register today at dsnevents.com for all this and more, starting April 2nd through April 4th at the Irving Convention Center in Irving, Texas. Register now at dsnevents.com. Now, let's get back to the interview.
You also mentioned affiliate, and you kind of introduced it really quickly, but I want to circle back on that. You have some pretty strong thoughts on affiliate programs. It's been a really hot topic within the channel. I think everybody's trying to figure out what works for them and how to integrate some aspect into their businesses and into their comp plans. I'd love you to share some of your thoughts on kind of affiliate programs in general, what you see working, what's not working. And I know something interesting about your comp plan that you mentioned is that customer aspect, that affiliate aspect is just already integrated into your business model. Can you share a little bit more on kind of the affiliate aspect?
Yeah, I'd like to take a stab at that one first. We have a lot of the things an affiliate company has, an affiliate marketing company has, but it's not a separate thing. It's part of our career path. It's part of our culture. we have customer getters as part of our culture. We do that both by rewarding the customer, which is what Jeff was talking about, and by rewarding the brand partner for bringing us customers at a rate that makes sense and makes it valuable to them. You can make $500-600 a month in our plan fairly, I don't want to say easily, but fairly transparently by selling product to a certain number of customers, and you can repeat that every month. And a lot of our people do, and they never actually build a team. So we don't treat those people like they're something different. We aren't trying to teach our brand partners how to do something else. For us, it's really the first step in the brand partner program. Some people never take the second step. Some people are happy sharing product and making money. But the second step's there for them, and they're welcomed into our culture. The brand partners who do that are brand partners. They aren't something else. In fact, they can even advance in rank all the way up to director, which is our 5th or 6th rank. I don't remember off the top of my head, without doing anything other than selling to customers. They need to have 0 brand partners. The next step requires them to have 1 other person below them. So we have a program whereby people can advance in rank. They can get rewarded. They can get recognized. They can go on our trips if they have enough customer sales in our trip earning period. We don't treat them differently. We treat them as this is the step they're on in our plan. They're invited to take the next step. If they don't, we love them just the same. And when people start talking about affiliates and bolting on and doing something different, I think where they're making a mistake is they aren't rewarding both the customer and the brand partner in a way that is going to allow that brand partner to evolve into a leader at some point in time. In other words, oh, this is stuff you can get paid on, but there's no growth, there's no recognition, you're part of the family. It's like, you're something else if you're an affiliate. You aren't part of the family. And I think if you create something outside of what you have, and I understand why companies are doing it, it's really hard if you have certain types of comp plans to say, hey, I'm going to pay you as a customer getter 20% of every sale you make, plus based on the volume you sell, an additional up to 15%, plus based on the number of customers you have, an additional up to 12%. And that's what our brand partners can get. It's very difficult to say that if you have most of your compensation going into leadership organizations, into rank-based organizations, into structure-based organizations. We're not built that way, so it's easy for us to say we would never do an affiliate program. But the long and the short of it is, I don't think you create a separate program if you want those people to be part of your family. They aren't stepchildren sitting at the table, right? They're welcome at dinner. They're part of the family every time. And we invite them, and some of those people decide to move on. Some of them stay where they are. And we have people in our organization who have never enrolled another brand partner, who've been directors for 5 years, and that's all they're ever going to be, and they're happy there. And we see them on trips. They're part of the family. They're part of the culture.
The industry, this industry, a lot of the companies have some really hard decisions to make, because the reason they're bolting it on because they don't want to change the structure that they're in. Okay, the structure they're in doesn't reward people for getting customers. It's driving the comp plan. And so they're going to have to somehow get in alignment with their leaders and say, listen, we have to do this to be in compliance with this new case law. We actually need to do this to be in alignment with the e-commerce direct-to-consumer model that's exploding out there. And we actually have to do this to be in alignment with the gig economy. People want to just sell products and make some extra money. And so they're going to have to make some hard decisions. The industry is in a state of a shift. I think the industry is a better position for being a viable part of the economy now, because we're becoming more customer-centric and more, like we call it parallel income, gig economy-centric, and not playing those games and not expecting people to come in from the outside world and play the games the way we do it, but us to go to where they're at and do business the way they see it, okay? And so affiliate models, they work, but there's a word I've heard, unintended consequences. It becomes a huge distraction. And all of a sudden, everybody's thinking, well, they get an affiliate ruled, and they start thinking, well, because the comp plan you're in is a direct sales company, you only have so much dollars available for the affiliate, okay? And so they go, well, I can go out and become an affiliate for that product over there because they're not in the direct sales world, and I can get a bigger check for my sale. And so they start using their influence other places, and all of a sudden, you have the unintended consequences of a massive distraction. You get two competing energies in your company. And it has to be seamless, like Deb said, baked into your model. And these are very interesting times for the industry, but they're very good times for the industry for the people who are willing to get in alignment with it.
Absolutely. I agree with really everything you just said. This is an amazing time. We know that the future, to the research that you just referenced, the future of commerce is going to be person to person. So we are perfectly positioned to continue the leadership role that we have. And I also think one of the really powerful things that you and Deb just talked about was kind of the customer journey or the brand partner journey, that you're not looking at this as two separate paths that people go down. I think that's what you're referring to, Jeff, at least in part, where things kind of fall apart. And especially from an e-commerce perspective, you want to have as little friction in the decision process, in the purchase or acquisition process as possible. And every time you ask them to pick a lane, you're going to lose a huge percentage of those people that are coming into the funnel. And I think going from understanding that it is a journey and not a separate segment or customer type is really, really important. I was consulting with a company a little while ago, and they were trying to build in this affiliate and working on the website of, well, do you want to buy the product or build a business? And again, it's you want people coming in, purchasing and sharing products. And it took some discussion. It took some time to sink in that it's already part of the journey. It's already part of the comp plan. You want people coming in. Step one, as Deb mentioned, share the product with other people, get really good at that. And then you can kind of start building a business and becoming a leader. But this journey of customer to brand partner to leader, I think is really important for all of us to understand that it's sequencing. It's a continuum. It's not this different segment that you have to treat completely differently. They may have different needs at that point, in their journey. And it's up to corporate and field leaders to help move them along that journey, but it's not just this, it's not a completely separate journey. And I think that's one of the most important insights.
Another thing that's good about it too, is it's an easy win for the new person. Yeah. So if you come in, your path is recruit, sell packs. That's an easy way to lose somebody. If somebody go out and sell a product and just make a little money, but then also make a little money the next month off the sale they just made. It shifts them, okay? And what happens to us is you're out there selling product, you're making $200, $300, $400, $500, $600, $7,000 a month just selling our product. You're going to have somebody eventually say, what are you doing? I want to do that. And you're drift into our comp plan to the back end, or else you're going to hand them off to somebody else. And so it's not like they're being pushed into it. They're being pulled into it, okay? And it's a big shift in the mentality and the energy that you have when you do that. It allows a person who's never done this before to have a win immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for those incredible insights. So you and I have also, the three of us have kind of chatted about the role or some of the findings that you made around compliance departments and how to approach compliance and kind of the maybe the discussion around that as part of the case. Can you share a little bit more on what you learned about how compliance departments are perceived and the potential impact?
Well, I think the first thing is when you talk about having a compliance department, you need to have a compliance department. So you set up the rules, whatever the rules are, your policy procedures, and you allow your compliance department to do enforcement. It's not I really like that guy, so he doesn't get a letter scenario, or they didn't mean well. But one of the key things that we do in our compliance department that I think a lot of people should embrace is we use it as a teaching tool. When someone does something they shouldn't do, we actually contact them, tell them what they should do differently or why they shouldn't do it. And we use it to embrace our brand partners. So it's a partnership. Compliance is not, we're not, yes, it's a police, they're the police, but we're not putting people in prison. There's a process. And as long as people are learning and we're educating them and they're going through the process and they don't become chronically way out there, we're working with them to make them effective and compliant marketers. We're not looking to punish them or hang them high or hang them out to dry. It really is more of an education process. So if someone says something about a product they shouldn't say, we reach out to them. We say, you can't say that, and this is why, and this is what you can say in the future, and take it down immediately. but let's look at what you could do. And so compliance is a two-way street, right? We've got to educate people. They don't start our business knowing what they can and can't say. Somebody enrolls and gets super excited about a product, and maybe it's a skin condition they have that they don't realize is a disease, and they say, hey, I put it on and it went away. Well, they can't say that. We all know they can't say that. But they don't know they can't say that, because to them, they're a consumer who used a product and it really helped a condition they had. We don't penalize that person by, we're going to suspend you and we're going to, terminate you tomorrow. We educate. If it continues, we move to those processes. But we allow our compliance director to work with the field. And it's important to have that. We kept records. We kept copious records of interactions, of things that are done. And we're proactive, searching the web. We use an outside company to help us do that. But ultimately, I think it is the attention and the care with which we allow our compliance director to run her own area that was seen as really advantageous when we got to court. And we had the data and statistics and the processes lined out to the point that they really supported our case, and that compliance matters. One of the key things in our case, and I'm just going to bring that is very kind of a new ruling in our space that we've never really had, is the judge declared that our brand partners are not agents, meaning every time they open their mouth, they aren't necessarily speaking for the company, which is something we really expected to get challenged, and then it didn't, because it is the first time that's been ruled. But that's an important thing. We educate, but we don't control. They're independent brand partners. If they get too out of control, we will suspend and terminate. But it was really important. That agency ruling is critical, that we can educate them, but we cannot control them. And so the judge understood that. But she also, by the way, put in her opinion that even if they were our agents, our compliance department was sufficient, that we were sufficiently monitoring what people were saying and doing and evolving over time. I think one of the critical things people think is, we've got these rules, we're done. No, there's new guidance all the time. There's new talks all the time. There's new case law all the time. You have to continue to evolve those rules. But we had evidence that we'd done that. We had evidence that we allowed our compliance department to act the way they should. And in our case, it was a critical part of us winning the case, particularly when it comes to income and product claims.
Our compliance department is really baked into our company also. We have management meetings on a regular basis. There's management meetings you have on a weekly basis, but the ones where you're really strategizing, they come in and present to the entire executive team. And they have KPIs, they have numbers that we look at, and we see it every single time. And they explain all the numbers, what they've done through all the different ranks, through all the different things. And so they're very, very part of the company. They're embraced by the company. And our field likes them because they talk to our field nicely. We don't just tell you you're wrong. We tell you you're wrong, but here's how you can be right. And we educate them by why we have to do it. You know our biggest compliance department is now? Our field. We've educated them so well about the rules and the regulations of why.
Absolutely. And they realize that it's their job as well, to protect the company, to protect their businesses. It's not just really left to corporate. I think that's incredible. It also speaks to the culture when you all feel like, hey, we're all in this together. What's good for one is going to be good for all. What's bad for one is bad for all. So I think that's incredible that you've been able to develop that into the culture. So Jeff, I want to ask you a question. I know the answer, but that's why I want to ask the question, because I think it's so cool. I want to ask you, what would you do differently? Looking back, what would you do differently to prevent them from knocking on Neora's door?
I don't think we would have done really anything different. Okay. We didn't do anything wrong. Okay. Like we said, if there's a problem, we fixed the problem. Our comp plan generated customers. I don't know how we could have created this company 12 years ago to be more in alignment.
I don't think there's anything you can do to prevent them knocking on your door. And for us, I think the only thing that we could have done differently has been less successful prior to that knock. Because I do think if you look at companies that they knock their doors, they aren't knocking on the guy who's just getting started. It's usually a larger, more established company. So less success maybe, but I certainly wouldn't do that by choice. I don't really think there is anything we would have or could have done differently. We had a problem, like I talked about, which drew their attention, but we'd fix the problem before the door was knocked on. So the challenge we've got is the FTC does not look at our industry in the way it currently is. It looks at the way the industry was maybe 30, 40 years ago. It thinks that everyone, and this is from interactions with them, that everyone in our industry reacts exactly how we know those people who give our industry a bad name act. And that's their assumption when they knock on your door. So if you're successful, you must be doing something wrong, is kind of the theory. And I don't know, we could have done anything different to keep them from knocking. And I don't know what to tell I get asked this question all the time. What would you do? I'm like, make sure that you're prepared when they do. That's all you really can do. Make sure you've got the numbers, make sure you've got the plan, make sure you've got the process, make sure you've got the team. Make sure you're prepared if they do knock.
When they do knock, they don't care about the facts. They're going to put you through all these hoops to get the facts, okay? But they ignore them, and they people always ask me, well, what would you done? And I said, well, you need to make sure your house is in order, have real customers, not doing a comp plan. But if they knock, you're getting your house in order for the judge, because they're not going to care. When they come in, they do two things to you. Number one, they choke you. These are their names: choking and fence building. Choking means they actually laughed at us in our face, that you do not want to get in a lawsuit with us because you'll go out of business. Your strippers will leave, your field, your management will leave, your customer will implode. And they said, and the collateral damage will take you out. And we said, no, we'll be good because we believe in our model. But then I learned what choking is. I mean, first of all, it's first thing on Google is that, okay? They have ultimate authority. So think how hard it is for a distributor to build, although we were able to do it because we have customers. But then they, within days of each other, our bank that we had around the world, did all of our treasury banking and our merchant processing, said we had 90 days to get out because of the FTC. We haven't been tried. We haven't been convicted. We were accused. Think about going from a tier one bank that's doing all your banking and merchant processing to you have to piecemeal it together with little banks around the world, with little merchant processors, higher fees, less service, and do it in 90 days. And you have to walk in and say, I'm coming to you from this big bank because I'm in a lawsuit with the FTC. Okay, your suppliers put you on different terms because they don't want to have accounts receivable from a company that's the government says is bad. Okay, your insurance rates go up. All these different things happen. My own personal bank that I've been with almost 40 years and never bounced a check said I had to leave. And I hadn't done anything wrong. Okay, and so I had to go to another bank. My investment company froze all my accounts. It took me a while to get one of the top 2 investment companies in the world to unfreeze it, and it took my lawyers talking to their people. So that's the collateral damage that happens to you. And they know that. So they're choking you to make you agree to things that aren't the law, that now becomes guidance, and it fences in the industry. Those are the words they use: choke point and fencing in. That's the game you're in. So when they knock on the door, understand that's what's going on. The only time the facts really matters when you get in front of a judge. That's what I saw.
Yeah, unbelievable. It's not necessarily fought by the rules or even in the court. There's so much that happens outside, so many second order effects that are just completely unfortunate. Unbelievable. But thank you for indulging me in that initial question. I know when we talked once before and I asked you that question, you said nothing. There's nothing. And I think that speaks so much to your leadership, to both your leadership, to how you've operated the company. Just incredible. So such a cool answer. You've also called this ruling a blueprint, and it was a very detailed ruling. Can you expound on this a little bit for other companies that are looking at this to try to gain as many learnings and make any changes or evolutions or be as prepared as possible? Can you talk about this concept of it being a blueprint?
Yeah, I know Jeff has a lot to say on this. I just want to set the groundwork here. Is case law is how we're all trying to guess what the FTC finds appropriate, right? So we all look at the VEMA decision. We all look at the Herbalife agreement. We all look at, back at the Amway decision back, in the 1970s. We all look at those decisions as, okay, this is what happened in this case. This is what they found a problem. This is what that company agreed to. Therefore, that is what we should do. But the reality is none of that is in the law. It's all in legal opinion. So we have the most current legal opinion, and we're different in that we're the only ones that went all the way through with the judge and won. So when we talk about this being the ground, this being the table stakes, if you look at our numbers and if you look at what the judge says in her case, and you can meet those, that needs to be your table stakes. Let's just start there. Do you have the customer volume? Do you have the business practices? Do you have, the product demand? Can you do that? And if you can't do that, focus there. That's what we mean by it's a blueprint, right? Because every other case that's ever come out, everybody looks at me and goes, oh, that's the answer. Well, we're the newest one, and our answer has more clarity and in a lot of ways more validity because it isn't some private agreement we made with the FTC. This went all the way through the judicial system. So that's what we mean by it's a blueprint. And I know Jeff wants to expand a little bit on what that blueprint says, because I think it is important for companies to hear that.
Well, what I like about it so much is it's actually in alignment. I've said this earlier on in this podcast, is that it's in alignment with where the market's going to. Okay, so her talking about our customer demand, talking about the value of our products, talking about the value of our systems, talking about all those things is where the market's going to, and for real e-commerce. Okay, when she talked about our compliance, it's where the world's going to. Okay, and so I think the ruling is very healthy. I know it's a challenge for a lot of people to get there, but you finally have a blueprint that went through court and had such a detailed ruling by a very prestigious judge. She's the Chief Justice, okay, very highly respected. And by the way, she's just appointed by the Clintons. Thought we got a good judge. She was a great judge, but she wasn't. She probably would not have been the one we picked. She was more on the liberal side. So when you have a person of her stature and of who she is ruling so strongly on these things, you have a safe place to go to. So people know a safe place. What I really think what's neat about it, it's not only the right thing to do that, it's the smart thing, because that's where the market's at. She didn't make a ruling that would have been in contrary to e-commerce direct-to-consumer platform. She made a ruling that was in alignment with e-commerce direct-to-consumer platforms. It's a beautiful thing that this standard is so in alignment with what the marketplace, both the consumers and the workers, are looking for.
Yeah, it is an incredible reference to have that ruling. And I think all of us, every direct selling company, should go familiarize themselves, read through it. There's such incredible detail that can be used to form any adjustments or kind of a go forward strategy. And the great news is in all of this is that you won. But I've heard you say, it may have been a win, but it's also a warning. Can you share some thoughts? And I think that goes a little bit kind of in alignment with the blueprint and kind of drafting off that. But can you talk about what the warning aspect is as well?
It's not necessarily the judge's ruling that's a warning. It's what we have to listen and pay attention to why we won, right? We won because we have we have salespeople that we compensate, but our business model is selling product to end consumers who have consumer demand. If your business model is internal consumption, where everybody who joins is also a seller and they're buying product to feed the comp plan, or they're buying packs because they have to sell a certain amount of product every month and they don't get compensated at all, or they're selling packs because they get compensated mostly for having more salespeople rather than for having more volume. Those are old school practices that need to go away, and they don't serve the consumer. They don't serve our industry. But what really we have to be looking at is, where do we want to be as an industry in the future? And where we want to be as an industry is helping people, whether they're salespeople or customers. And what I mean by that is, I've always looked at the industry as you have two types of companies. You have the kind of company where you grow up the leadership track by having more people below you who are more successful, meaning you become a bigger leader when you have people below you who are more successful, but everybody's building a business is based on their success. And then you have a leadership where you become a leader simply by having more people, whether they're successful or not. we need to be in the business of helping people build successful businesses by selling product, not in the business of helping a few people bring a lot of people in at their expense and not giving them an opportunity. And we know historically that you have a lot of that. Not everybody's going to be successful. 70% of people are never going to do anything, meaning they're going to enroll as a brand partner. And in our case, it's $20. So we have $20. They got a 10% discount on all their products off the lowest consumer price. So they make one order and maybe they get their $20 back. It was worth it to them. They're buying our $240 Ultimate Skincare set. They made their money back when they bought it, right? So 70% of people are never going to try and sell something. But the people who are trying to sell and are trying to build, they need to be compensated. And the people who become leaders need to be leaders because they have more people who are doing that, not just because they have more people. I don't know how else to put that. So it is a warning. And we know that the FTC itself has said that this is an industry of modest supplemental income. The Ferraris and mansions and gold watch and Rolex and huge diamond ring days, that's not what most people are in this business for. So moving away from that into what most people are in this business for, which is building a supplemental, stable source of income for the long term. And that's the kind of business that we have.
To add to that, Deb and Wayne, this is really interesting. And this was a very difficult thing for the FTC to deal with, was if you take our average purchase by our brand partner and compare it to the average purchase by our customers spend more than our distributors do on products. And that is because we have things like 3-year free, Neora gives back, things like that allows a person to not have to buy a product as a distributor because they can earn it through credits, okay? And so that, that right there, you can almost take any company, what percentage are your people are customers? Now, people, you can't reclassify them. A third of our brand partners were previously customers. They were customers for a period of time. They liked the product. They got in the business. When they move over, we don't count them as customers anymore. They're now brand partners. So that 80% number is actually a bigger number, okay, if you look at it from that standpoint. But that's really a neat thing. And so we made it such a value to be a customer that they want to spend more money in our brand partners. We made it such a value to be a brand partner because you can spend less getting the same products because you're earning credits, okay? It's those kind of things that make you really get in alignment with something that's good for, that's in line with the industry, but it's also in line with people and their values, okay? And I agree with Deb 100%. There's a lot of dinosaur stuff out there. And I think most of these companies, if they were starting over today, we're starting fresh, they would build it this way. The challenge is you're stuck in your paradigm. You're stuck in your old model. And I get that. I'm not casting stones. I'm just saying they're going to have to make some big decisions because this is now the law, but also the market is demanding it to be different. The consumers want it different, and the way people want to work is different than the old model is. And so that's when we talk about the new blueprint, what we mean.
Can you share a little more on the tough decisions? We've addressed some of them, but hypothetically, let's say you're CEO of another direct selling company, you're listening to this podcast, you're reading the ruling. What are some of the first things that you would go do? What are some of those tough decisions you would make to make sure that you're set up for the future?
For me, the toughest decision for a lot of companies is going to be where their money currently goes is not where their money can go if they're going to have a sustainable business model. Now, if you have to look at what is the money we're paying, what behaviors the money we're paying in compensation driving. And if you look at that and what it's driving is not what you want, you're going to have to make a change. And there's a lot of companies out there where there's not a lot of money at the base. There's a lot more money going to the top. And yes, those people are the people that you rely on. Those are the people that you work with. Those people you talk to every day. We're much more likely to talk to a top distributor than we are somebody who joined yesterday. But you have to look at what behavior is that compensation distribution incentivizing. Is it incentivizing the new person to go out and make some money that they can consistently make month over month? I don't mean make money month one because they bring in 3 friends and those 3 friends all bought packs, so therefore they made money. They have to be able to build an income stream, which means you have to have money in customers, because the only way to build an income stream is to have customers. and they have to be able to a consistent income stream. So you, as a business leader, you're going to have to sit down with your top field leaders and say, look, we have to adjust where we're using our funds in order to do this, which means you're getting a big chunk of it, you're going to be impacted, and this is why, and do that buy-in. And some leaders are going to stay, and some leaders are going to retire in place because it's hard to walk away from a big check, and some leaders are going to become problematic. So it really is taking a look at where we need to go versus how entrenched we are. A lot of those difficult changes are going to be dealing with your field leaders and getting them to understand where you need to go versus where you are, and understanding they're going to have a negative impact as a result initially, but that the future is brighter if you do this. You will be able to grow your business. You're going to take a step back to grow if we do this. And I think that's just a really difficult decision to come to. And it's an incredibly difficult series of conversations to have with a lot of emotions and a lot of emotional management. And you better have the trust already, or get started building it, or else you're not going to be able to make those changes.
What they need to do, first of all, just get the numbers. What are your numbers? Okay. And be honest with yourself. And I think there's a window that allows you to go to your field leadership and say, listen, this is the law now. Okay. We want to build this legacy for you long-term, and we're in this together, and we're going to have to make some adjustments. But, oh, by the way, you're going to probably have to step back to go forward. Okay. But in going forward, you're going to start building a book of business. So paint the future that us shifting money around the comp plan to reward people for getting customers. Okay. And that's going to have to come from the top. Maybe your checks can go down temporarily, but now we're going to be in a business model that builds a book of business, and you're going to build a more sustainable, predictable business for you long term. This is an opening for an owner or CEO or leader of a company to sit down with their field leadership and have an honest conversation. This is what the ruling says. This is our numbers. We need to get over there. It's going to require us to do this. But by the way, by going over there, you're going to have a better business long term because we're going to create a customer base.
In addition to just having that conversation, though, Wayne, you were talking about this earlier. You have to look at, what are you training people to do? How are you training them? What does your meeting look like? What's your recruiting process? What's your product presentation process? What is it that is culturally embedded in your field that might need to change? Because it's not just about, we're going to move the money, because if people aren't training people on that, then it's not going to work. So it is kind of a comprehensive, how do I look at this to change the behavior away from what we are doing to what we should be doing? And that's looking at your systems and how people are in the field, and how, we do parties. What do those parties, we're not a party plan, but we do parties to present product. What do those parties look like, and what are they driving? And you have to teach your field again to welcome customers, and that customers are a good thing, and that customer getters are a good thing. You don't have to want to drive a Ferrari to be successful in the business, right? You can just want an extra $200-300 a month, and those people are successful and need to be celebrated too.
Absolutely. I love that. So last couple of questions, kind of going more at the abstract, what do you feel were maybe the one biggest leadership lesson that you learned through this?
For me, I am a very, I'm going to say internal person, and communication is such a critical factor in everything. And I'm by nature transparent. I'm more likely to say more than I should than less than I should. But learning with Jeff, and really from Jeff, how to manage a large organization from a communication perspective, and Amber played a large role in that as well. Amber Olson, our Chief Sales Marketing Officer. Learning from them how to manage the communication of a large organization. My inclination is to tell people and to move on, and to get back to work. But just the importance of continuous communication and continuous transparency and continuous work on trust. I know I knew that going in, but to live through that, the trust you build, and the communication skills that you develop through something like this are immense. And it's, I tend to say something once, and sometimes you got to say it 15 times. And I'm not the best at saying it 15 times, but learning that through that process, for me, it really was the importance of communication as a leader in order to maintain that trust with the people you're trying to lead.
For me, it was kind of it was a reaffirmation to me that if you do things the right way, the right thing will happen. Okay. And really what happened here, we just leaned in more to who we are. We're really about personal development. I really believe people want to be communicated to and they want to have connection. Okay. I believe your community and your culture is as big as anything else. And so I think what happened for me is I saw the value of community. I saw the value of having relationships with your field and trust with your field, and how important that was. Okay. I mean, you got to have great products. You need to have a great compensation structure. You got to have great systems. You got to do all those things. But at the end of the day, it's people touching people. And without that, if we had just been a company where people just chasing the comp plan, it'd have been over. Okay. But because we were customers and we did have a community, it stayed together. So for me, from a leadership standpoint, we always have been very transparent here. Leadership does matter. Okay. And leadership is easy when things are good. It can be very difficult when things are tough and down times, especially when the world thinks you did something wrong. The hardest thing to this whole thing is everybody assumed, we kept on telling we didn't do anything wrong, and we kept on presenting all that. But everybody thought there was a smoking gun. They thought there was something out there that we just weren't telling. Okay, it was difficult. So from a leadership standpoint, you got to believe in yourself. And I mean, it gets very lonely in this type of situation, very lonely. I mean, I even had friends who quit talking to me because they thought I did something wrong because they read it. Okay. And so you have to, if you've built yourself on solid principles, solid values, character, purpose and meaning, then you'll stand by them. Okay. It's that simple, even if you're by yourself. And so we're able to do that. And we attracted people like that. And people really became a part of it. And they saw that we were leading for the good. We weren't leading for ourselves. We were fighting this battle for them. So leadership is always about making a difference in people's lives, trying to get people to do something they wouldn't have done without you being there. And I think that's what we did. So leadership is a learned thing, but I think leadership comes from the heart more than it comes from the brain. And we did that. And so it makes me feel really good that what I've always believed in. That's why I was so big in personal development. Deb was so big in personal development, because we really believe that is what drives a successful organization. That's what creates the philosophy of a person. Well, a company has to have its own philosophies. We have 10 core values, our philosophy, and we leaned on those 10 core values because all a company is a bunch of people who are synergistically driving towards the same goal and help each other along the way. They're going someplace together they couldn't go down to by themselves, and that's the key thing, is together. And what real leaders do is they create communication and connection. And if you can do that, you can pretty much get through everything. And it's like the companies out there right now that are going to have to make some of these changes we just described, if they have built good communication connection, it's going to be a lot easier than if they've been sitting in an ivory castle and not really engaging, not really being part of the process. I know at our events, we stand around until the last person wants to talk to us. That's one of the things we do as leaders in our company. And we teach that to our leaders. And it's a part of talking to every person straight to the face and looking at them, touching them when you talk to them, be part of the process, even a brand new person. So I just believe, for me, it reaffirmed to me the value of community more than anything else.
I want to add on something there.
Yeah, please.
If you're looking at what it takes to get through something like this, and I think this is really important, you got to look at the people around you. Our team, and I mean our internal team, I also mean the field, but I really mean our internal team, we were all on the same page. That culture that we built, the culture of integrity and transparency and trust, carried us through. We had a few senior executives jump off the boat very quickly after this showed up, and more that jumped off the boat as it became clear that we were going to, as the lawsuit developed, even after the CID. And, we're looking back on them, it's not that they were bad people, they're good people, but they weren't part of our culture. They weren't part of the team. They weren't the people you wanted in the foxhole with you. And I think you really have to look at who's here because it's a nice paycheck and they enjoy what they're doing, and who's here because they really want to make a difference here. that they're part of the team, they're part of your culture. They have bought in, they are sold out. We had other people who joined after the lawsuit was public, and particularly our CFO and then Dave Fleming, who's our Vice President of Business Development. They joined after the lawsuit started. They jumped into the boat, and they couldn't be a better fit for our team than you could possibly. They've been phenomenal because we are a team. So if you're going to go through something like this, you need to look at the people who are going to be in the foxhole with you and figure out if they are cut from the same cloth. Are they really here on the same mission, which has to be a team mission? So just listening to Jeff talk, that was something that struck me, that part of leadership is surrounding yourself with the right group. And we're fortunate we have the right group. But you end up in a war like this, you figure out the people who are the wrong group will jump off the boat really fast. This is kind of what we learned. But the right people will jump in. And so I think that you probably shouldn't wait till you have a crisis before you take a look at that. I think it's really important to make sure you're all aligned in goals and values and strategy, and mostly values. I will say that values are, you can't change somebody's values. You have to make sure that the people who are with you are the people who have the same values as you have. And we have that here. And I know that's a strong reason why we were able to win.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's so powerful that you mentioned just leaning in harder to who you already are, which means you had taken the time to define who you are, to develop the culture, to develop that trust so that it's there when you need it, that it's not something that you need to after the fact, try to artificially go recreate. And Deb, I hadn't thought about the kind of the inverse. Again, we always worry that, times of challenge can make people kind of run away, but also if you handle it properly, it can be an incredible way to attract brand partners, corporate executives, employees. Again, it just goes back to doing things the right way for the right reasons. Last question, and we've kind of painted around the edges of this a little bit, but we know that so much is changing. You had a front row seat into some of the ways that this is changing and how others even perceive the channel. Looking out 5 years, where do you see the direct selling company? What does that evolution look like?
I think one of the most interesting things I've heard recently, and I'm sure it came out of research that I heard at a DSU event. So, shameless plug there. If you aren't going to those events, you need to. Is the fact that younger people are attracted to the channel. They really are. They're looking for ways to make extra income. It's not unusual for them to have a job and a side job. It's just not. They're attracted to the channel. They're attracted to what we offer. They aren't looking for, I can do this for 2 years and get rich and for the rest of my, they're looking for supplemental. They're looking for community. We know that young people are looking for community, a place they can feel welcomed and accepted. All people are, right? But I think if you look out 5 years, you're going to have a lot more companies that are built on the foundation of a lot of people being able to supplement their income, with a few people choosing to put in the time and investment and effort to become leaders. But you're going to find companies that are thriving are going to be direct selling companies with strong products that compete with products off the shelf. People want to recommend, and they're going to be paying a majority of their commissions on product sales to the person making the sale. And I think they're going to be bigger than the companies we see right now. We have some behemoths, but I think you're going to see larger companies, and they're going to be thought of more in the way we think of e-commerce companies. They're going to have a space. They're going to have a space in people's mindset with a lot less judgment. I think we don't need. I think I've been in this industry for, 28 years. People run away from the industry. They try and rename it. They try and do different things. I don't think that we need to do that anymore. We need to lean in to doing things the right way and being who we are. And I think that that's where the industry is going. And I think the players who do that are going to be a huge part of it and are going to have tremendous success.
Yeah, the statistics are on our side. E-commerce is exploding. They're saying year 2040, as much as 90% of all consumer goods will go through e-commerce. So that's where the industry is going to go. It's going to require changes to do that product. You're going to have to change your compensation structure. The statistics also say people are looking for that extra income, that parallel income. That's where everything's going. So I see 5 years from now, like I just said, they say in the next 6 years, we're going to go from 200 billion to 330 billion. And it's going to be driven by consumers and micro entrepreneurs. So I think when you look back 6 years from now, year 2030, you're going to see these companies, just the market forces alone are going to drive it. And you're going to see an industry that starts looking more like the rest of the world versus looking like this unicorn sitting off in the corner of the universe doing things their own way. That's over. It's just with the technology and communication and all these different platforms and social media and all that, you can't do that anymore, okay? And be relatable. So I see a really bright future. I think it's going to be a future. You're going to see some really neat growth in it. And we're going to do it because we're doing the right thing. We're creating real customers, which is the right thing. And we're creating a really easy secondary income without all the gains, which is the right thing to do. So I always say it's not only the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do. So I see the best years are ahead of us in this industry. And it's going to be different players, or it's going to be different models. And people are going to have to make some adjustment, but it's a good thing. And what's so cool about all this, Wayne, is this ruling is in alignment with what I just said. You know, it's not like the ruling is in alignment with what the market forces are asking for. Customer driven, want to be part of the process, okay, and micro entrepreneurism, and that validated that. So I think it's really cool. I'm excited about the future.
Me, I share the same sentiment. Me as well. I think we are perfectly positioned for this continued person-to-person commerce that's going to happen. Again, more digitally driven, but really trusting people, you know, over companies and other institutions. I'll end on the great news. Recently announced the FTC is not going to seek an appeal, which just reinforces how you've approached this, how you've operated the business. On behalf of the entire channel, I do want to offer a heartfelt thank you to both of you, and Amber and everybody back there at corporate. We all knew that you were fighting for all of us. I'm sure it felt like a very lonely fight at times when you were, you know, there on the very front lines in that courtroom, but really appreciate all you've done for all of us. Again, if you ever felt like we weren't behind you, that was never the intent, but I know that it was a lonely fight at times. So thank you for fighting for all of your brand partners, for your corporate team there, for all of your customers, and for the entire direct selling channel. Appreciate all you guys have done, the great examples you are to all of us. For so many of us have learned, again, from both of you for all these incredible years. So thank you both. Please give our best to everybody back at corporate.
Well, thank you for the kind words, and it was an honor. Okay, and we're very excited about the future.
Thank you for tuning in. Please take a minute to give a 5-star rating and review to help Direct Approach continue to provide more candid interviews and insights for corporate executives. And please register you and your team now for the Spring 20th Anniversary Celebration events taking place April 2nd through April 4th in Irving, Texas. You can register at dsnevents.com. Thank you for listening and supporting DSN and the Direct Approach podcast.